Hey guys, I'm back. So sorry about that. I think the video got cut off before, so that's not cool. But yeah, so basically what I was talking about, I guess where I left off was I was talking about 60 frames per second. You know how the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One is going to have that, but to me personally, like they're trying to, sacrifice. They're trying to get 60 frames per second, but yet keep 1080p, which is really hard to do for these consoles because that's like pushing the limit to what they could do. So I don't mind 720p if they're going to do 60 frames per second, but at the same time, if you're going to do 1080p like Killzone's doing, like for the single player, that's fine too, because I understand if you can't push the limit, if you can't make it to 1080p 60 frames per second, don't push it, because obviously Killzone has, like, they try to make the scale, like the sky view and everything for the game really big. So it makes it look like a large world, and it makes it look very detailed. And the more detail you get, the harder it is to actually get more frames per second. So all that stuff's going to slow down the frames per second. Now,
Health returns.
For me, it's important for the game, especially a shooter, to be consistent and not to go from 30 frames to 60 and then back to 30 or 25. Like, no, you want it to be a steady rate. Now, if it's going to be 30 frames per second, fine. The whole thing has to be 30 frames per second. Do not go back up and down. That's what makes it look like it's lagging. So, yeah, would you like it to be 60 frames per second? Absolutely. But you don't want it to be 60 frames per second at one point, and then 2 seconds later it drops down to 15 frames per second and goes back up. You don't want that at all. That makes the game look laggy, makes the game look behind, and that's something that you definitely do not want. So I'm totally fine with like games like Killzone doing what they're doing. With that said, Xbox is doing the same thing, Xbox One, with Dead Rising 3, because they're having so much problems with that game, keeping it at steady 30 frames per second. To me, that's a perfect example of what you're not supposed to do. Yes, you want to add as much zombies as possible, but you have to know your hardware. And obviously, the creators that are working with Xbox One for Capcom, they don't know what the hardware is, because if they knew that, they wouldn't be attempting to put that many objects on one screen and slowing up the whole game, because that's not good. Hopefully they fix it. Obviously one solution to fixing it is removing a lot of the objects they have on the screen, which means less zombies that they had previously. But it's up to them. Now, if any of you guys watch A Walking Dead, by the way, they show the preview for next week's episode, or this week that's coming up, and they show like the one scene that has, like, the director said that there's 7,500 walkers. So that just reminded me of Dead Rising 3, where they're showing all these zombies everywhere. Like, it's gonna be insane, that episode. I know I completely got sidetracked, but I just had to say that, and we get some loot real quick. All right. But yeah, I'm excited for next generation. I just hope that they don't focus too much on 60 frames per second if they can't handle it. Like, try to do the best you can and make it steady, like a steady frame rate, and just keep it there. Try to make it as graphically as intense as you can, and just keep it steady frame rate, especially if you're a shooter. Obviously, a shooter wants to go to 60 frames per second, but I don't mind what Killzone did at all. If you can only do 60 frames per second for multiplayer, go for it. That's what you're going for, go for it. But, I really think PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, they both may not have the best games, but to be honest with you, you never get a good game. You never get a good game on a release day for any console that ever came out. It's rare that you ever got good games. So they have a lot of games coming out for both consoles, so that's why I'm getting them. I'm getting, PlayStation 4 day one, like I said already. But I can't wait to play these games. There's something new, and I think that's what it's all about. I think that's why everyone pre-ordered PlayStation 4 so much and Xbox Ones, because they can't wait for something new. They're tired of playing the same old games, and that's what it's all about. They want something new, and hopefully this generation will be better than the last generation. But I'm not gonna lie, like, this year specifically was a great year for games. There's so many games that came out, so many games, and there's so many games that are gonna come out soon. And a lot of it's gonna be, this generation and next generation are gonna be multi-plats. But I'm looking forward to a lot of different games and stuff like that. But Titanfall is a game that you should definitely get, without a doubt. But do not get it for Xbox One. I'm telling you that right now. If you want to experience the game,
come, let us search for your uncle.
That's funny. He's like, sorry, I had to cut it off for a second. He's talking about Leah, and like she's right next to him. It's like, Leah is doing this. Like, Leah's right next to you, man. How are you talking about Leah right now? That's funny. But yeah, like, do not get Titanfall for Xbox One. I'm telling you guys that right now. If you have a gaming PC, you better be getting that for a PC and not for any console. Because Titanfall is made for PC. You can see the way it is. It's a mech game that is completely made for PC. That is going to be a great PC experience. I can only imagine playing that on Ultra. If you don't have that much money, save up. Try to save up till it comes out. They announced the release date. I believe it's March 11th. So if you don't have the money for it, save up. Try to get a gaming PC that's going to run that. If you really can't afford it, if you can't do it, then fine. Get it for Xbox One. Don't get it for Xbox 360 because it defeats the whole purpose. But if you really can't get Xbox One either, then get it for Xbox 360. Or if you want to wait, it's going to come out for PlayStation 4. EA is too greedy. They know that they're going to, this is a time exclusive. As much as Microsoft's trying to say it's not, it is. It is. PlayStation 4 is going to get it. That's fact. Guarantee it. They're going to get it. There's no way a company like EA is going to let that happen where they're not going to make the maximum amount of money. So, if you're worried about it, that you can't afford it, there's nothing wrong with that. Then just play on the console. But I suggest to you, if you do have a PC or you do have money that you could save up, definitely play Titanfall on the PC. That's all I have to say. I can't wait till my GTX Titan, let's see what it could do with this. I build my PC for a game like this. Like, this is what I was waiting for, to see if it can handle this game. Because my PC can handle ultra settings for Crysis 3, at over 60 frames per second. Steady. It never drops under 60. So, but then again, I got GTX Titans. SLI, so I mean, it's kind of cheating, but besides that, I'm excited to see that game on PC. So if you guys do have a PC, you better not be getting that for Xbox One. I don't care if your friends have it on Xbox One or Xbox 360, you better be getting it only for PC, because that's the way you want to play it.
Regardless, wherever he's headed, hell will surely follow in his wake.
Hell's gonna follow me, huh?
Shadows close in on Tristram once again. But like Aiden, I'll be gone before they fall.
Now, a cool thing about PlayStation 4 that I can't wait for is the free-to-play games. I know that everyone's like, oh, you're going to get a new console, next-gen console for free-to-play games. But yeah, I mean, that's like the perfect thing for me to sit down and do a Let's Play real quick with you guys and show you some footage, and let you guys see if that's a game that you want to play, that's a game you're interested in. They're going to have a lot of indie games too. I could just sit down and play indie games and just show you guys Let's Plays on indie games. So for me, I think that's awesome. I love indie games, especially since my indie game will be released on PlayStation 4. So I'm not biased or anything. I would have done it for Xbox One, but the whole time when I was coding and trying to see what console I'm going to bring it to, Xbox One or Xbox in general was not friendly whatsoever to me and indie developers. But I'll get to that story in the next video. See you, YouTube.